They be doing a lot of procrastinating and pump faking and shit, man. I'm talking about just putting too much sauce on it. They huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing. They talk about nothing. 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 They huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing. I say they huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing and talk about nothing. They talk about nothing. They huffing and puffing and bluffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing. They talk about nothing. They talk about nothing. They huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing. They talk about nothing. They talk about nothing. Contradicting and stating false accusations and making phony moves and funny backstabbing and acting out of line and cricking and tripping and counterfeit and cheap popping off and gossiping and plotting and garbage and fraud and retarded and weak-minded and poison polluted and wasted and brainwashing beef stew and stirring up huffing and puffing. They talk about nothing and pulling stunts and bluffing and cussing and smiling in faces and frowning and perpetrating and storytelling and make believing and trying to convince and con artists and working up schemes and circus clowns and down talking and sneak dissing and whispering and ass kissing and feeling some type of way, personal issues and bringing problems and creating situations and bothering and jealousies run deep and steady and digging up dirty and games and labeling them worthy and holding grudges and thirsty and knocking off squares and all in their feelings and all off their element. And they feeling some type of way and trying to knock hustles and stepping on toes out of pocket and acting can't be trusted and quicker than you could think. They busting and cracking and putting too much on it and overreacting and backtracking and lollygagging and lack of love, a lot of miscommunication and selfish and all for nothing and switching sides and flipping disloyalty and disrespectful and dissing sideways and blinded minds and ticking blood pressure raising, ceiling rough, sky high, boiling and baking and steaming and frying. Roasting and grilling and killings, small shit, tall metaphors and reaching out and shooting, calling, socializing and driving and records colliding, the hottest hits and dropping and diving, down low and creeping and fleeing and reaching out and believing it was real and alive and worth it and inspired and put on game and teaching and guiding, uplifting, providing what's honest and giving the truth and ready and right message reaching. They huffing and puffing, they huffing and puffing, they huffing and puffing, they huffing and puffing, they huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing and bluffing. They talk about nothing, they talk about nothing, they talk about nothing. They huffing and puffing and huffing and puffing. They talk about nothing, they talk about nothing. They talk about nothing, they talk about nothing.